Hi class, my name is Nikita Boynton and I will be doing my presentation on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And before I get into it, I just wanted to apologize to you all because I may tend to look away from the camera at times, but I want you to know that I'm coming from some of my notes. I just didn't want to forget or leave anything out. Okay, I apologize about that. My video screen fell and looks clear. Looks like everybody can probably see me. But I chose to do my presentation on Dr. Martin Luther King because he had a great impact on my life. He was one of the most influential leaders that I learned about. And I learned about him in school. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you had probably learned about King in elementary school, middle school, high school, or maybe even college. So I know there are also some books out about King, and there's a movie called Selma, which was a really good movie. And if you saw the movie Selma, then you probably were able to paint a pretty good picture and to see what he went through in life so that we can be where we are today. So Dr. Martin Luther King was a pastor and an African American civil rights activist. So he was a leader as a pastor and a leader as an African American civil rights activist. And he also played a leadership role at home because he was a husband and he was a father. So he played a leadership role in the home. Also, Dr. King was the president and the founder of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. What that is, it's an organization, and that was actually traced back to the the Montgomery bus boycott. That began December 5th, 1955, and that was after Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on the bus. So that organization is actually up and running now. You probably hear it. It's called the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and it's also known as for short, the abbreviation, it's SCLC. And that's still up and running. And that's an organization that supports rights. It supports rights. They raise money for people. They just assure that we're all under one nation and we're all in unity. So, what stood out the most to me about King is his speeches. And they really touched me. They motivated me. They inspired me. And like I said, it had a great impact on my life. And I won't forget his famous I Had a Dream speech. I Have a Dream speech. That, basically motivated and inspired me and let me know that it's okay to have a dream and, to follow your dreams. His vision was another thing that stood out to me, and how he was very courageous. He was willing to lay down his life for us because African Americans, we've been through a lot. We didn't get a lot of rights and we couldn't vote, and we were segregated. We couldn't eat with whites and we couldn't take the bus with whites, and we just were all segregated and we were divided. But because of him and other people that worked with him, other leaders, we are able to be unified. And I know that we're not living the way we want to live right now. The world can be a better place. But when I look back in those days, we came a long way. We came a really, really, really long way. So not only did King write these speeches and he just spoke, but King was able to put what he said into action. And in leadership, I think that that's very important for you to not be able to just say something, but be able to do it. And that is what's going to cause people to follow you. And if they see that they can take your word at something, then you can be trusted and they can count on you. So as a leader, we want to be able to be counted on. And that's what King displayed. He also he demonstrated love, peace, and nonviolence in a world that is mean and cold. And I thought that he was very remarkable because he was a man of integrity. And I know this isn't a religious course, but I know that, King was a pastor, so he was a Christian. And I know living in this world, I can imagine how it probably was back then living in the world as a Christian. Christians are taught to love your enemies and to do good to those that do wrong to you. And I can imagine how it was back then. And a lot of times Christians are misrepresented. So, he represented well. That's what I'm saying. And he represented African Americans really well. I think that his style, his approach, I think that King's approach actually worked. What he did was he had non-violent marches. He did speeches, and he was able to, he was exposed. It gave him the opportunity to show others that he was a good man of integrity. Because, like I said, African Americans, we've been through a lot back then. We were called ignorant, dumb, and, he displayed a great character, and he represented us really well. So, there also, he recruited others. So, his movement grew, and it made it big because, he had a lot of supporters. He had a lot of followers. So, I mean, he was a very remarkable man. Another thing that I noticed about King when I was reading about him that I don't remember reading in school was that he was an introvert. He was reserved while he was in school. While he sat in class, he sat in the back of the class. He didn't really participate much. So he didn't really he just wasn't really, he was like a regular person. But he did leave a great impression on two of his instructors. They noticed that he took down notes and that he was a great listener. And I think that a leader should be a great listener. It's very important for a leader to be a great listener because you want to be able to learn. In order to be a leader, you have to be a follower first. You have to learn. So that is what King was doing while he was in school. He was learning. He was taking notes and he was listening. But he did kind of stand out, even though he was